Think of using social media like sleeping on your ex-in-law's couch. You can't possibly sit here and tell me you have a quote unquote budget. And in the same breath, when I say, what's your ideal client worth? And you give me that blank stare. What he wants to know is the burning question. What's in it for me, man?
People of the world, welcome back to Moral Marketing. Oh, you're in for a treat because we've got Mark Newsome, aka Mr. Marketing, on the show. He's a small business marketing consultant who is a cash flow generation specialist, helping small business owners uncover what they previously considered dead assets and or resources. Before we got onto the live here, Mark and I were chatting about God. We're chatting about ethics and spirituality, and he's pumped to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mark Newsome. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you so much for inviting me. This is an honor and pleasure.
So as we were chatting about backstage, oftentimes people feel very uncomfortable talking about love, talking about God. Again, Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, you name it. They feel like there's no place for that in the workplace, and oftentimes people will root their ethics in their religion. And so these ethical questions become sort of nebulous, what's the right thing to do, etc. Does God have any place in the workplace, in your opinion?
Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, that's why we're entrepreneurs. So we sort of get to be the shot callers. So
Mm-hmm. And in your particular business, can you give me just a brief outline of like what a good client is for you in like a minute or less, what you do for them?
excellent question. By and large, all I try to do is do an audit. Let's look at what you're doing because some things are working clearly. Let's get rid of the dead weight as much as we can. That's not really being maximized. And let's look at your dollars not as it has to be a dollar for this. Let's look at a dollar as what can we barter, trade that dollar for that will give us more value or multiple returns on it. I am not a big believer in traditional quote unquote advertising. To me, it's just too one dimensional, Kellen. I'm trying to maximize the thing. So I'm looking at, hey, what can we take that dollar and use in another way and get a much bigger bang for our return? That's really what I'm all about.
And when it comes to morality, oftentimes I'll bring in a client at my agency, digital marketing agency, Send It Rising, and they'll have to pass through this kind of moral check. Like, I'm not going to sell drugs, right? I'm not going to sell guns.
Agreed.
But sometimes there are these moments, like we had a client where all of a sudden he's like, hey, I'm offering ketamine. And I have to ask myself, wait, and he's like diabetic neuropathy. Okay, so this is right. So where's the line on that? So where do you draw the line in regards to clients you will work with, won't work with?
Well, good question. But bottom line, if I think there's going to be a morality issue, then I'm going to excuse myself. I'm not going to ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do. And if they even suggest I got to go into the dark side, they're not the client for me. And I'm not the guy for them.
I would argue that cigarette ads are wrong, right? It's kind of sort of that simple for me. We know smoking is terrible for you. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that, there would be advertisement for those at all. Would you agree with that, or do you have more of a laissez-faire? You should let them do.
I was going to say that's an excellent point. Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, thank goodness those kind of clients haven't, for the most part, ever sought me out, or vice versa. So, if it comes to that, no, I do draw a line. So far, I haven't had that as an issue because, for the most part, those kind of clients haven't sought me out. Pornography or anything like that, where I have to say, this is a little questionable. So I'm glad that hasn't been the case so far.
Mm-hmm. And do you ever find yourself, when doing reporting for clients, selectively choosing what data they see so that it looks better? is that ethically dubious at all? Does that make any sense? Like in terms
Yeah,
of show, because we
absolutely.
have this
Again,
incentive to want to show the best possible results, right?
absolutely. But again, there is a way to do things where you don't cross the line. As far as I'm concerned, if we're not crossing the line, if I can live with it, my conscience, it doesn't bother me. I'm okay with it. But I don't want to do anything or suggest anything being done that gets into the gray area. I just rather not go there.
So give me an example then, because clearly you're not in the business of ripping folks off, right? You don't want them to pay you and not see tremendous value, right? And
True.
obviously this is true. So in the event, like walk me through a client, first of all, that's been really good, like a success story. And then if you have one, walk me through one that's been a real challenge and how you navigated that.
Well, let's go with the latter. Excuse me. When I do my audit, like sort of we're doing now, we're talking, we're feeling each other out. I want to see some past promotions, whether it's email, offline, whatever it is, because I want to get a feel for, I hate using this word, but please forgive me, their brand. When I say brand, I'm not talking about that corporate branding crap. I mean brand as in their philosophy. And if there's anything in there in the brochure, anything in the email, anything to me that looks like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to excuse myself.
So can you give me an example of something? Do you have an example of where you saw that and you went, whoa, maybe not so much on
At
this?
that, knock wood, not as of yet.
So when folks are marketing, they will often go for price and service, right? Oh, we're the best and our price is great. We're the best, our price is great. And that's all anyone ever does is they run around saying we're the best and our price is great. Um, and oh, here's coupons, right? Save money, right? These are just the standard issue marketing that folks tend to do. And I would like to believe that the business community, if it were to start, let's say 2% of their budget, 1% of their budget, allocating towards, for example, Send It Rising company I own, we spent $3,000 planting 1,000 trees in Indonesia, right? It felt like the right thing to do. We pulled the trigger on it. This cool company called Eco Match. We have a little forest named the Send It Rising Forest in Indonesia, right? I want more of that. That being said, it's a hard sell to go to, let's say a plumber client and be like, plant a forest in Indonesia. Do you see what I'm saying? Like we're trying to connect, how do you connect the dots between making the world a better place, okay, here's my question. Is it just humble bragging to do that sort of work and people roll their eyes at you because they're like, oh yes, you're so wonderful?
Maybe so, but if I could, I'm glad you brought up the way you brought that up, because I'm going to tell you the way my strategy is regarding that. I'm going to try to demonstrate to my client, you don't base what you're going to do on a quote unquote budget. Instead, base it on what is your ideal customer worth to you. If you don't know what that is, then we're gambling. This is crapshoot. Because just to play with some numbers so I can textualize it for the audience, it doesn't make sense to invest $1,000 or $3,000 or $10,000 if your client's only worth $800 over the lifetime of the client. Well, you can't possibly sit here and tell me you have a quote unquote budget. And in the same breath, when I say, what's your ideal client worth? And you give me that blank stare. Well, where did you come up with this number? How did you figure it? A lot of these businesses don't know. So then we got to step back and say, okay, is this really the best way to invest a dollar to try to generate a customer, in your opinion? And then this is where we sort of get into what I do, my specialty, marketing, promoting. Because what I find a lot of times is people put too much pressure on advertising. Advertising, in my opinion, Kelly, is the worst. It's the last resort. It's like being set up on a blind date by a friend you don't know good. You know what I mean? You're asking for trouble. You got so many other options, in my opinion. We ought to at least, I don't use the word exhaust, but really go after first. If they don't pan out, then as a last resort, we can advertise. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's really sort of my approach.
As basically an advertising agency owner, I'm deeply offended. I'm totally kidding. I totally understand what you mean. So I will often go to my clients and I'll say, look, for example, we have a personal injury attorney client who I love. Amazing. He does amazing work. They never take more than their clients make. And so, talking about the ethics of their business, people are going to refer them because let's say the court case goes to trial and it takes up a ton of resources and there's multiple attorneys on the case and they're doing mock trials and there's just a ton of money being poured into this case. They will never make more than the client makes, and that's baked into the cake. And so when I look at clients and I check out their Google reviews, potential clients, I should say, I will get scared if I see 2.7, 2.9, 3.1, and I'll go, look, first of all, I have to ask myself, are you doing the right thing by your clients? Do I want to partner with you? Right? Because as an agency owner, people think that they can just write us a check and we're just going to take their money and instantly start working for them. That's not how this works, right? This is a partnership. I need to be on board with what you're doing. And so my question to you is, what are these strategies that you're implementing that precede the advertising, and do they have anything to do with what I just mentioned, which is just structural, ethical, high standard operations of the business?
Excellent question. I think, let me try this because I think this is really, we're both on the same page, we're just different ends of it. Let me give a simple example. I'm gonna give two. That's okay. How often do you think this happens just in America? Somebody sitting at home binging on Netflix or Hulu and they get hungry. They look online, find their favorite local non-franchise pizza place, order a pizza. 10, 20 minutes, whatever goes by, pizza delivery person, local person shows up. They pay for their pizza. Maybe they leave them a tip, whatever, thank you. Pizza person drivers off to the next delivery. How often do you think that happens in America on a
How
daily
often
basis?
do I think people order a pizza in America?
Right.
Do you want an actual number?
I'm saying a lot, right?
Yeah, tremendous
Now,
number.
notice what's missing. Or actually, let me use my first example first. I mean, my second example first, and then I'll come back. How often do you think this happens? A business, or no, I'm saying a homeowner orders cable. The cable installer shows up on time. They're very courteous. They install the cable. They check it out. Everything looks good. They have the person in charge sign off on it, and they leave. How often do you think that happens? Every day in America.
Of course, very, very frequently.
Well, a lot, right? Now, here's my point. Here's what's not happening. Now, just imagine this. What if that, I don't want to say technician, uh, operator said this to you, Kelly? Oh, sir, by the way, with your special order today, you've qualified for an additional bonus service that you can have on a trial basis for 30 days, 90 days, 6 months. Like McDonald's saying, would you like fries with that? There is a very good chance, you've already signed up for the service, you're about to sign paperwork, that you're going to say, what is it? And if it sounds halfway reasonable, you're probably going to go with that. Would you agree with that?
As long as I don't have to put my credit card on file and then they force me into a payment
Okay,
later
fair
where
enough.
it's like 30 days, right? Because in my experience, and first of all, God bless capitalism. Okay. I get the benefits of capitalism, right? And I get the benefits of socialism. Thank you very much. There's pros and cons of these different systems. I'm not here, because I'm about to say something very disparaging about capitalism. So I just want people to understand that, like, on a whole, I get it. I think what underpins these systems is people's morality. I think what happens is the reason why communism or capitalism or a blend of both don't properly manifest in society is because of the way that we're thinking, right? We think that unless there's a dollar value associated with it, it's not worth our time. Everything translates into money. And so we don't prioritize what I would consider a God-centric view of the universe, where doing something good for someone else is of incalculable value. It is, and I interview people who've had near-death experiences on the show. Listeners of this show will know that and understand what these near-death experiences are, but they die, they go to heaven or hell, and then they have this life review. And in the life review, they see how the impact they have on people in terms of how they uplifted them or not, is all that God cares about. Like, that's it. Don't care about your title, don't care about your body, don't care about, you know, your profession, how much money you have is completely meaningless. Who cares? It's how we treat people. And so, to answer your question, to the extent to which the salesperson comes in, or I'm sorry, the technician comes in and is like, hey, look, we actually have something that's really valuable, you know, and I'm offering it to you for free. We care about you as a client and a customer. I've really enjoyed my time with you. This is a gift. Right. That's what this is. This isn't some sort of, I'm not trying to trick you in anything. This isn't like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to get away with anything. I'm telling you the truth. Here is this cool thing we would like to do for you. That I'm on board with.
In fact, you know what? You just hit it out of the park. This is the way small businesses and small service providers used to do commerce. And we've just gotten away from that. In fact, big businesses almost have no chance because they are so distant and cold, and it's about numbers. Whereas a small business owner or a service provider knew their customers by name. There's no way Netflix knows all their customers' names. There's just no way. How can they possibly do it? So let's encompass what you're saying. And I'm going to say, we're not supposed to presume, but let's assume that they are taking the right posture. You are offering this to your potential client because it is of value. And if it's of value, you got a much better chance. And I say that in this sense, as opposed to trying to reach them through an advertisement. You don't know who they are. You don't know what their situation is. And you're running an ad that's a giant generalization. Whereas this strategy is, in my opinion, if you do it the way he just described it, this is far more personable and customizable. And your odds of getting them to say yes, or at least doing a trial, go drastically up. Now, to finish the thought, I was going to say with the pizza person, same thing. Imagine this, Kelly. Let's suppose I came to your house to deliver the pizza. We've never seen each other before. I'm a non-franchise driver for a non-franchise pizza place. And when you open the box, taped to the top of the box when I leave is a sealed envelope. And this is what the envelope says on the outside. In big, giant red letters with quotation marks and an exclamation point that music legend Stevie Wonder couldn't miss. You definitely deserve this. Is that not appealing enough for you to at least rip that envelope open? What is it that I definitely deserve? And in there's going to be some extremely time-sensitive discount. Like if you're a guy, we have something for women, or we have whoever opens the door. That, it's either going to be a woman, or whoever ordered is either going to be something for a woman in the envelope or something for a guy. But it will be some local coupons, time sensitive, dated, so that you either use them or you lose them. But the point being, I'm partnering, not me, but the company is paying me. We're partnering with these local vendors. They're going to put our stuff in their orders, and we're going to put ours in theirs. And we can either swap 100% and say, Kellen, whatever you get, you keep. Whatever I get, I keep. Or we'll give each other in basically an affiliate or a joint venture commission, X% of the sale. Because what we're really trying to do is create a long-term repeat customer. And if it takes paying Kellen a little percentage of that first sale to get a new customer, I guarantee you it's 10 times less expensive than running your billboard ad or your primetime radio ad. That, in fact, Kellen, can we be brutally honest with the people here? Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, in the time you're going to invest in listening to this podcast or any of these other excellent podcasts, your local TV station is running an ad. The local radio station is running an ad. You and I didn't hear it. Guess what? That money still came out of your budget, didn't it? So that's what I'm talking about taking assets and reallocating. That's what.
So a few things. Number one, yes, I believe that, again, people who have these near-death experiences in their life review, they experience the feeling that they give to another person. So there is justice, and it occurs when we pass away. We will experience the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the divine of what we've done on this planet. If
Yes, sir.
the people we talk to feel uplifted, we'll feel that. If we do good works on the planet, they will feel that. And so when the pizza person shows up, and it is truly a gift, right? Hey, like these are actually like, even the pizza person can say, hey, look, this little envelope here, it is filled with like really, really good discounts to businesses that we love and care about. It all comes, do you see what I'm saying? Like the hair stylist is my niece's mom. Just so you know, the hairstylist in this little envelope, it's 40% off. Her name's Maria. She's my niece's mom. I love her to death. Just wanted to give you a heads up, right? Now it's a community, right? And people feel connected to something greater than themselves. And people want to vote with their money. Now they want to help out Maria, right? They're like, oh yeah, that was the pizza guy and he's great. And it creates a small town community feel, even if you're in Manhattan, right? Because you're all in it together. And there was a second part to that, which was um, the reason I got into search engine optimization was because I have long felt that blanket advertisements are unethical and they border on brainwashing sometimes and propaganda, which is to say, let's say sugar, we know sugar, long-term consumption of sugar is bad for you. And there's just like a Snickers ad and Milky Way and all these sorts of things. And they're just flooding. And the moment before you saw the ad, you weren't thinking about a Snickers, but now you are. And now you got to fight that. You got to fight against that. Pizza is another great example, which is a good segue into what I want to talk about. But let me finish this final thought, which is that's why I like SEO. You type in Las Vegas plumber near me, you typed it in, right? They show up. I'm giving you what you wanted. This is what you asked for, right? So that's why I like owning a digital agency, because it feels more ethical than the alternative, which is, I'm going to fill your brain with this information that you didn't ask for, while I'm like sneaking into your consciousness while you're just trying to watch the show that you actually wanted to watch. You didn't come here for the commercial. So I feel like we've evolved as a species in regards to giving people what they want, because the apparatus is better. But the follow-up question I had for you was, do you believe it is ethical for, say, like Hardee's, McDonald's, Burger King to use completely fabricated, made up, like plastic versions of their food in their advertisements? Right? It's not the burger. It's some sort of monster art piece that is supposed to resemble their burger, and everyone knows it, and they still are allowed to do that. Can you explain? Like, that seems horribly unethical to me. What are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I'll throw in another group, the frozen food industry. Same thing. They got this beautiful picture, and yeah, it's not even close. In fact, some people say the dating scene is like that because you got people putting Photoshop images on there, and they're like, "Wow, this guy, Mark Newsome, had hair in the picture. What happened?" So it's sort of, I agree with you. It's the same sort of thing. You know what, though? We could, man, if I could come back on here, we could talk politics, because to a certain extent, it's our elected officials who allow this, and we vote for the elected officials. But I won't go there. But I agree with you. Yes, to give you a short, concise answer, I couldn't agree more. But let me just say this too, ladies and gentlemen. It may not be obvious what Kellen is pointing out. When there's a gap between reality and the marketing or the advertising or the whatever you want to term floats your boat, that is an opportunity for you and I to step up and fill the gap. Like, for instance, here's one of the things I do not like. Man, this may be a little thing to you, but I'm just run this by you and see what you thought. This company is having a free workshop to show people who want to, like me, create courses and be online. Now, the guru has a picture of himself saying, sign up for a free consultation. But the guru won't be the one giving the consultation. Well, then why is your picture there? It's obvious why. Because they're trying to persuade us to do something, which tells me on the back end there's going to be some, I won't say hard sell, but some serious selling going on, not so much some serious servicing. So that kind of thing, don't do that. This is what he's talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Just play it straight with people, and more times than not, you're going to be way ahead.
I love where this conversation's going because because we tend to, and God forgive me for even saying it, worship at the altar of money and status, because it is the demon of riches and wealth and status is so strong, so enticing. We bought into it as a globe, it feels like. What ends up happening is people will say, oh, but if I don't do that, we won't make the money that we need. And if we don't make the money that we need, it won't exist at all. And that's not okay. They're not okay letting the money go away or risking the money. That's the final straw for people. Well, if we don't use the plastic thing for our ads, you see, we've done focus groups and you see like they perform better and they just, it's like you're focused on what you believe is the best profit driver. And that's the end of the story. Oh, but our shareholders, and that's their money. And it's like, you are not thinking at all about your life review. You're just not, right? And you think the treasures, and it says, you know, to pull Jesus into the conversation, do not lay your treasures up where moth and rust doth corrupt. The treasures are not the money and the health of your body per se, and how strong you are and how great you look. And this is all just rust and dust and water. Like, it's just, you think that that's the goal of this life, and it is not. So let's say you have an extremely successful campaign where you're selling these burgers. First of all, we know red meat's not great for you. Fast food's not great because you're already selling a product that's dubious, right, ethically. And then you're not even showing the real product, and you're pitching it to any age group, and it's huge calories and it's very bad for you, and you can be contributing to heart disease, right? And it's all, and money just drives all of it. And if you just flip the switch and go, when I die and I go through my life review, I'm going to have to experience my impact. And now you're seeing how you've tempted people using something that is completely fake to eat something they shouldn't be eating, and you knew it. And then you have to stand before God and go, I'm sorry. And God's going to love you unconditionally. You're going to be forgiven because that's what God does. You still did it, right? And you still made that choice. And because you just heard the words that I said, now you can't say I didn't know better.
No, that's excellent. In fact, I'm not going to be able to say it as eloquently as you tell it, but let's just say this. Play the long game, not the short game. And what he's saying, if it's just about money, I really don't want to be involved with your product or your service, because the bottom line is you can manipulate people in the short term, but in my opinion, you cannot over time. I want to be around. You want to be around. I think the way we do that is we put the ethics first. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's such a breath of fresh air. You're going to be amazed how you attract people when you start putting their needs above your own.
That's just beautiful. I literally have this statue. I apologize to my listeners that are listening on Spotify, etc., but I'll describe it to you. So I was thinking of what Jesus I wanted to have. So I've got a Buddha behind me, and I've got Vishnu and all my religious friends. But I was like, what Jesus do I want to put behind me? And I was like, I want Jesus washing feet. That's the Jesus I want in my room, because we can take any philosophy, any religion, and we can use it for good and we can use it for evil. And I've seen both. And you better believe it's about service. So to throw an amen onto what Mr. Marketing Mark Newsome just mentioned, is how difficult it is to put other people's needs above your own. It is perhaps the most difficult thing, and that's why it's also
Yes.
the best thing.
In fact, you know something? Now, it's a marketing principle. You just hit on something. It's just so powerful. The reason why most people can't write good copy is because they focus on themselves and not on the customer. So they write from a myself point of view, and that turns people. It's like going on a date and all the other person's doing is talking about themselves. I mean, it's just, or your spouse is just whatever. But let me just say this, if I could tie this in, because I'd be remiss if I don't say this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are 100% trying to build your business on social media, I don't care what, LinkedIn, TikTok, I don't care what the platform is. Think of it this way. I love using this example, Keller. Think of using social media like sleeping on your ex-in-law's couch. One day they come home and say, Kellen, I love you, but you got to move. Now, what does that leave you? You're going to be homeless. You might have 500,000 followers on TikTok, 500,000 followers on LinkedIn, 500,000 followers on Instagram. They changed their terms of service. You're out. All that work done for nothing. You say, well, Mark, what's the alternative? Leverage social media. What are you saying? You have to have some information in there that gets them to your home, your blog, your podcast, your website, something, and offer what we call lead magnet, some sort of incentive for them to get on your list. Ladies and gentlemen, if anybody tells you email marketing is dead, I want you to think of this. Imagine you're sitting at home, Kelly, minding your own business, and there's a knock on the door. You go to the door, there's this impeccably dressed salesman. I mean, that suit had to be $2,000. He's talking to you. Now, you wouldn't need this product, but let's say you're like me, you're bald. And he says, sir, we got this incredible product I'd like to demonstrate to you. It's called Hair Grow Plus. And he's going on and on. You go, well, how long is this going to take? 10 minutes, sir. If it takes longer than 10 minutes, one of us talks too much. He waits. You kind of smile and say, okay, come in. The guy lifts his hat and he's completely bald. And he said, okay, what's the point of that story? If anybody tells you email marketing is dead, they probably sent you an email to tell you that. So the point is, don't be conned. Email is fundamental. Get your own list. It's okay to stay on social media, but get your own list. Because if they cut you off on social media, you can still send an email and drive your traffic anywhere, or direct your traffic anywhere you want them to go. You cannot say that with TikTok or Instagram, because it's their platform. And if they decide, I don't like this religious stuff, or I don't like this communist stuff, or I don't like this right-wing stuff, or I don't like this leftist stuff, they can kick you off that platform. And it's their platform. That's your ex-mother-in-law's couch. It's her house or his house. They're in control. You and I want to stay in control. Now, notice Kellen was kind enough to invite me onto his podcast. This is fabulous. Instead of it just being me and him one-on-one, it's one to many because he has an audience. That's called leverage. But I have my own blog, and Kellen, I had a podcast too. I haven't published in a while, but I have my own podcast and my own blog. So if Kellen decides after we get up there that this really wasn't what I thought, and he decides not to publish it, I'll be disappointed, but I can keep on publishing my blog posts, Kevin. because that's my platform. So what I'm trying to say to you is don't fall in love with the fact that you're using these platforms because you and I don't own them. The Reid Hoffmans and the Mark Zuckerbergs, those people own those platforms and they can do what they want and they do. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, Mark is correct about that. When it comes to email marketing, and I do apologize, my glass folks are making my home better in the other room, so it sounds like a metal show out there. I love the idea of giving things away. Okay. And when it comes to email marketing, what I did was I went to ChatGPT 3.5. It's now at 4.0. And I wrote a book in 2 weeks. And this was my second book. And so I just give away books. So if you are interested in getting folks onto your email list, what would you recommend giving them?
Well, again, it depends. Now, he just made a great point, ladies and gentlemen. We're saying give something away. It's got to be relevant. Like, for instance, you're trying to teach a dog, Rin Tin Tin, how to sit. Chewing tobacco is not a good incentive. Okay. What's the pain point that your audience is trying to, what's the itch that they're trying to scratch? That makes for I call it hors d'oeuvre. That's a nice giveaway. That gets people. You ever notice you go in the grocery store?
Let's get specific though, Mark.
Okay, right.
Like help me out. Like come up with a specific business.
Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Okay. Oh, boy. What about this? If you are a plumber, I think most people want to save money on plumbing. So why not give a first-time customer discount? But get this, let's go further. Single moms, military vets, retired and active, senior citizens over a certain age, 50, 65, whatever. Now, it's not limited to that, but here's my point with doing that. That gets people talking. In fact, Kellen, is it okay if I share with your audience one of the most powerful marketing strategies available? I don't care what your budget is.
Of course, go ahead.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to share with you something called, this is a word acronym, FYL. This is one of the most powerful. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about. You say, okay, Mark, what is FYL? Flat your lips. Word of mouth marketing. Kellen does something really cool for me or vice versa. We go tell people. The bigger your audience, your tribe, the more leverage you get. So he's saying, let's be specific. A plumber could give away something, a chiropractor, you could give away a free session, a yoga instructor, you could give away a free class. And if they bring a friend, leverage. If you both sign up, instead of getting the 15% off, you get 25 or X. It's not, it's so. But the point is, that's how you get leverage. In fact, Kellen, let me share something. You brought up a hairdresser. Ladies, if you run a hair, gentlemen too, now, I mean, if you run a hair salon or a nail salon or a barbershop, follow this. If I were a local jeweler and there were major competitors ahead of me, I mean, Kellen's got one of those budgets where he could do a $75,000 a month billboard. He's on local radio, on TV. Here's how I would compete against him. I'd pick out 3 or 4 of the local nail salons and barbershop. I'd go in, I'm a customer. If I got females working for me, I send the ladies to, the hairdresser. I go to the barbershop, I get to know these guys. I say, listen, excuse me, do you guys know anybody to be interested in wearing some really nice bling at cost? Yeah. Tell you what you do. I'm going to give you this extremely time-sensitive discounted coupon to my store 2 blocks over. As long as you bring a friend, I'll let you buy up to $2,000 worth of bling at cost. Provided you bring a friend, you join my email.
Say no more. I mean, I'm on board with all this. And one of the things I tell my clients is, look, just give away as much as you can, like as you said, at cost. And when those people come in, give them like 10 tickets or coupons or something to give to their friends who also get it at cost. And if you want to get real spicy with it, then you, when you print the tickets, you put numbers on them and you say, "Hi, Diane, I appreciate you coming in for your teeth whitening that you got for $49, right? Which was super cheap. And here are 10 teeth whitening coupons for your friends and your number 1 through 10. So on this coupon, you can see it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. So when number 7 comes in, I check my spreadsheet and I go, "Oh, you must be a friend of Diane's." She's like, "Oh, I am a friend of Diane's." You email Diane, you say, "Hey, Diane, I love you. I just want you to know Susie showed up. Susie's great. I gave her 10 coupons too." You see what I'm saying? And it's like, tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends, tell your friends. And on a repeating basis, yeah, they're coming in for another teeth whitening, right? This is not a one and done situation. They're gonna be back.
Powerful stuff, man. Power. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, follow this. Follow this. Let's suppose this guy's got a car detailing business. He says, Mark, go out to the car wash. Every time a luxury car goes through there, we'll pay for it. What? As long as they give them that envelope that says, you definitely deserve this. What's going to be inside the envelope? Some of his detailing discount certificates. Instead of paying $75 for a lead, $200 for a lead on the radio, I'm just standing here hanging out at the car wash. A nice luxury car goes through, pay for that car. Here's the money. And in fact, ladies and gentlemen, what I just said and what he just said is 7 plus 3. You can do 8 plus 2, you do 9 plus 1, you do 6 plus 4, you do 5 plus 5. Or in Kellen's case, since he's a little more sophisticated, 40 divided by 4. It's all 10. There is so many ways to split this thing, man. It'll blow your mind. There is no reason for a small business owner or service provider to be saying, I don't have enough customers. What you ought to be saying is, I can't hire enough quality people to keep up with the increase in business. That's my goal, his goal for you. And if you just follow biblical principles, do unto others, to your customer, you're not going to have to advertise as much. That again, that's what if you tell me advertising is your first choice, Kellen, something's wrong. We need to talk. Because in my opinion, you're just wasting a lot of money. I like to say it like this: you're heating your house, but you got the window open. You're wasting money. You don't
I've
need to
listened
let
to,
your competitors advertise.
sure.
Don't
I've
throw your
li
money away on advertising first. Do the stuff we're talking about.
Many
Mark,
dollars have been burned in advertising. There's no question about it. And no one knows that better than me, having owned an agency for many years. You have, for example, I have call rail data for my clients, meaning I can listen to their phone calls and they will spend a decent chunk of change getting these leads through the door. And then I listen to the way that the person who picks up the phone treats them. And I go, what? You know, it's like, and this is why having the word love scrapped from business is so painful for me. Because what's happened is because of all the sexual misconduct, people have made the word love synonymous with sex. And so because that has happened within the collective psyche, because people aren't able to parse those things apart, they can't say love without implying some sort of like sexual like chemistry or
true,
whatever.
true.
And my heart goes out to the women who have to deal with guys hitting on them in the workplace and the uncomfortable dynamics that come from that. So I'm very well aware of that. So let me define what I mean by love. For as many people as there are on the planet, there is an equal amount of ways that I can love. Right? The way that I love you, Mark, is different than the way I love the glass folks that are putting this drilling and making all this noise. I love them, you know. I everything because my perspective is God is hyper specifically like it's like a video game, right? Like it's not a coincidence that the glass folks are here right now. Because what it's doing is it's forcing me to hit the pause button more and listen more. So I see it as a way for God to be like, hey, maybe Kellen, you need to be listening a bit more than you, right? So I'm seeing things through the perspective of how is this for me? how is this moment designed for me to be a more moral, just, dare I say, divine, loving, compassionate human being? Um,
Excellent insight.
and so that's where we're at, is like, if all of our focus is on that, then yes, we will love our customer. And that will be the word that we choose. It's called loving your customer, loving them. And that doesn't mean that they get to do whatever they want, say whatever they want, cross any boundary that they want. That is not what this means. I can, like, I tell my daughter, like, if she's like, hey, I want cake for dinner, the answer is no. And I could not possibly love my daughter any more than I love her, right? The answer could still be no. And I can tell you no with love. It's like, no, we don't do that. I love you. Can we get creative about another path forward? And to everything you're saying, essentially what Mark is doing is he's applying, as to use your words, biblical principles. And I could argue Buddhist principles. I mean, I could talk to you all day long about the fourth noble truth, which is called the Eightfold Path, which is about right mindset, right ethics, right speech, right profession, which is just an ethical code of conduct, right, of how we should be treating people, which is often overlooked in Buddhism. But basically, Mark, I believe you and I are on the same page. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
let's sort of wrap this up with a couple more insights. The first one would be, what is your advice for folks to ethically market their business? Is it what you just described, where it's the way that they're treating their clients, and then the advertisements are essentially gifts?
Well, you gotta, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta don't write from the I, we, me. You gotta write from the you, your. In other words, Kellen doesn't care what you do. What he wants to know is the burning question. What's in it for me, man? What are you putting this crap in front of me for? Tell him what the benefits are. If you don't know what your benefits are, you reach out to him, you reach out to me. Let me just throw in one other quick example. Imagine if Kellen has a store, a florist shop. He runs an email and tells these people to come in and bring a friend. In reality, I'm his partner, joint venture partner, and I'm in the women's cosmetic business. I take our best perfume and go all throughout his store spraying, and he lets me spray it in the women's bathroom. You know, some of those women are going to say, "What is that? What fragrance is that?" And I make sure every woman that works in his shop, she gets to dab herself. She brings a friend with her to pick it up. I give them both a 32-ounce sample free. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Don't waste money on advertising, man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it just comes down to give first, because you're literally giving a pleasurable sensation to someone. And in regard, I don't know about like perfume ethics, but it seems a lot more ethical to me than selling, like, a burger, right? So the product itself, it's a sweet smelling, nice. So it's a nice thing. It's a nice thing to do for someone to make their day a little bit better. And so it's love first. It's just love first. And
You catch more flies with honey, people, than you do with vinegar. And finally, Kellen, let me please share the magic question with your audience. What the heck's the magic question? I'm going to try it on Kellen. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. We're going to find out if this Mr. Marketing guy's got the goods or not. Kellen, is it okay if I periodically refer you new business and customers?
of course,
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? Now, by the same token, as long as it doesn't take away from anything you're doing and it's ethical and moral and you can live with it, are you okay with periodically returning the favor?
of course.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me translate. You heard his words, but let me translate really quick. He's saying, Mark, not only do you get access to my current network, but the network I'm going to have in the future that's 10 times better. This is what giving and putting the other person's needs above your own, this is what it can get you.
Yeah, I mean, this is precisely what I wanted for this podcast, which is, there is depth and, dare I say, divinity in business, right? And we, as business owners, as marketers, as digital marketing professionals, social media experts, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, we can change the world. We are changing the world in the way that we treat people, in the way that we communicate. The advertisements themselves can be gifts. and so people get caught up on this. Is it the picture that I'm using, the font, the size of the number, right? And I'm sort of like, is it a gift? Are you actually sacrificing some of your short-term pleasure and comfort and bank account and child's college fund, etc., to put out an offer that is actually you giving something to another human being? Because a gift is a gift is a gift is a gift, right? It means that I lose, quote unquote, temporarily. Because if you're, and I say this to all my clients, I go, look, how good of an offer can you give me? How good is it? Because it's going to boil down to that. And guess what? That's on you, not me. So I love it. It's really beautiful.
Excellent advice, my friend. I hope you guys are listening. Took notes. He's
So
dropping it like it's hot.
Got to give you the last word, Mr. Marketing. I want to make sure folks know how to chat with you, where to reach you, where should they go. What's your gift to the folks today?
Thank you, Kellen. This was an honor and a pleasure, my friend. I hope I did well enough one day you invite me back. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to check me out, please check out my cyber home, my blog, UYOU, Can Market, all one word, youcanmarketonlinenow.com. Don't forget the now. And the point being there's a ton of content there, ton. If you read 5 blog posts on my blog and you don't get value, I'm not your guy.
Beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for swinging by the show today. Special thanks to Mark Newsome, aka Mr. Marketing. God bless you. We'll see you all next time.